I'm 26 years old and I'm in $95,487.73 worth of debt, majority of that being student loans. And I fear some people in my comment section, when I originally talked about my debt, need to understand what reality is like for a lot of people today trying to get an education. So I'm just going to give you a breakdown of what the last 18 months on a minimum has cost me so that you can understand why I've racked up $95,000 trying to get an education.
Now, student loans has been a huge issue for a lot of people, but this lady says she's in $95,000 worth of debt. And before we get into it, please, I hope that she at least graduated or is going toward a field that makes a lot of money. So let's keep watching and see where this heads.
Prior to getting my nursing degree, I spent 2 years at a community college getting my associates. Then I hopped over to a university and got my bachelor's degree. Now, the first 2 years didn't really cost me anything. I lived at home, I had the Pell Grant, but when I went to the university, it only covered so much. I had a lot of expenses. When I was at university, I was going to school fall, spring, and summer. I was also living off campus. So the majority of my loans came from housing and having to survive while I was away at college. And yes, I did also work when I was away at college. I have never not had a job. So now back to the breakdown of just the last 18 months while in nursing school. We'll say my rent on average was around $11.50 a month. At 18 months, that's $20,700. Now my car payment and my insurance at 18 months is $9,000. This is literally not even including gas. My tuition was roughly around $5,000, not including any other expenses I had to pay out of pocket. And I also included food because I needed to survive, and I put an average of $250 a month, which came out to $4,500 for the last 18 months. And that is just the minimum because I know it's way more than that. So that brings the grand total to $39,200 for 18 months. That is the bare minimum, not including.
The only thing I would say, it sounds like she was doing her thing. She was being responsible, and like she said, she went to community college, which a lot of people don't want to do. They want to jump right into a university and pay even more in debt. But she made a smart decision, went to a small community college, didn't have to pay barely any money back, and then she went to a university. But the only thing I would say is that car payment. $9,000 for the year at your age. I don't know. I'm more into, if you're especially under the age of 25, you should be in a used car, 2012 type car, and 4,000, 5,000 range, and pay it off completely. So now we don't got to worry about no car payments, and all we pay is insurance. So I would say for her, she could minimize that car payment down for sure.
My pet insurance, not including gas, not including reoccurring expenses or doctor visits, not including my car breaking down. I also did work during this period of time. I had a work from home job. I used to be full time, but in school I went part time. However, because my school couldn't get it together and they were constantly changing the schedule, there were a lot of weeks where I couldn't work. So guess what I had to survive on? Student loans. So I hope this rough breakdown really helps you understand how I have $90,000 in student loans, basically. Because this is just the bare minimum. My monthly expenses are way worse than this. And somehow I've been able to survive, thankfully, because I do have some sort of money coming in because I also do work. It may not be full time anymore, but I do bring in some sort of income. So actually, my debt could be way worse than it is, but I'm thankful that it isn't. And I hope that helps you understand a little bit better. Bye. I'm 26 years old.
Okay, so I'm a little confused because the student loan part itself, she didn't really hit on. Am I tripping, or
$1,000.
I'm not like, she talked about some expenses like her car. She talked about things of that nature, but I didn't really get to grasp the student loan itself. I don't care about the cat payment. I don't care about the doctor visits. What about the actual classes that you took money out on?
Including any other expenses
I'm gonna just go back and just make sure I ain't
had to pay out of pocket. And I also included food because I needed to survive. And I put an average of $250 a month, which came out at 18 months is $9,000. This is literally not even including the last 18 months while in nursing school.
All right, she's in nursing school. I got that.
We'll say my rent on average was around $11.50 a month. At 18 months, that's $20,700. Now, my car payment and my insurance at 18 months is $9,000. This is literally not even including gas. My tuition was roughly around $5,000, not including any other expenses I had to pay out of pocket. And I also included food because I needed to survive. And I put an average of $250 a month, which came out to $4,500 for the last 18 months. And that is just the minimum because I know it's way more than that. So that brings the grand total to $39,200.
39,000, but I would take away that $9,000 with that car payment, and so we're talking like 30,000. So her debt, because she's supposed to be in school, what, 2 years to the university? Isn't it supposed to be closer to 60,000? Like I said, all the other stuff, I understand. That's expenses. That's things that she paid for. But when she's talking about strictly college loans, room and board, tuition, she said was 5,000. So I'm still, like I said, I'm still confused. But let's talk about debt itself. Let's talk about college debt, because this is a big discussion. This is a big thing going on. And I am here to say, first and foremost, those people out there, because they love talking about how college degrees this, college degrees that. I agree. College can be a great thing. It can be beneficial. And if you do it the right way. Now, a lot of you guys out there are losing y'all minds because y'all thought that Biden, y'all thought that the Democratic party was going to erase all student loans. And that is not the case. We are now being pressured. The Trump administration is now saying they're going to garnish your wages. They're coming for y'all checks. So now we got to figure out what's the next steps. Me personally, I got student loan debt. I'm closer to that $30,000 range. And guess what I'm going to do? Pay it off. I'm going to pay it off. I'm going to be a responsible student who actually took out the loans, and I'm going to pay it back. I hear a lot of people saying what they're not going to do. I hear people saying they're going to avoid it, but guess what? It hit the fan. It finally hit the fan. My one friend swore on everything he loved he wasn't paying back $1 toward the college tuition and all the loans he took out. Man, his credit score dropped 100-something points like a month ago. Guess who was the first one crying? Him. And this is what I mean by you guys got to stop complaining and actually take action, because it's going to hurt you. They're coming for it. They're messing up your credit scores. They're garnishing your wages. So my thing is, let's pay that back as soon as possible. Let's not pay the minimum balance. Let's not wait 30 years to get it paid off. We got to now get all of our expenses as low as possible so we can start eating up this debt, because I called in personally about my loans, and they're charging me about $3 a day on straight interest. $3 a day on interest. So I'm losing close to $100 a month on interest alone for my college loans. And I'm only closer to that $30,000 range. For this lady who has $90,000, how much you think she's paying a month on interest? $300? So now we're talking about money that you're losing and you're going to be indebted to for years and years to come if you just keep the minimum balance. So my advice is make your expenses as low as possible. If you have to move back in with your parents for a year or 2 years, do it. Sacrifice. I know it's not going to look cool. I know that people are going to give you a hard time maybe, but these are the things that got to be done. If you got to scale back on your living, you got to stop going on vacations. You might have to drop your girl because she's costing you too much. You got to do something, but you got to get rid of these student loans debts, because it's not going to free you. You're truly going to be free when you're able to pay off all these debts and stop having to owe people, having people in your pockets, having people making you lose money every day. Because let's say you do work a job and you make money every day. There's somebody, college tuition, who's going to be charging you, let's say, $200 a month. That's money coming out your pockets that you're working hard for. That's not going away anytime soon. because if you look at it, interest is going to be paying off. If you do the minimum balance, interest is going to be taken away, basically half of that minimum balance. So then you only got half of the money you're putting into that minimum balance to pay off the full loan, which some of y'all have $90,000. If $200 is going toward interest and $200 is going toward the actual loan amount, how long do you think it's going to take for $200 to pay off $90,000? You're going to be in debt for 50, 60 years. This is how some adults are still in debt in their 60s and 50s because they took out so much loans and they've been paying the minimum balance and never really ate at the principal balance. So, like I said, knock y'all debt off. Stop complaining. Don't look for somebody to save you. Start making some more life changes. Some of y'all need to just start taking life more serious. That's it. That's all. Start taking accountability and start getting things done. Now, listen, I'm going to holla at y'all at the next one. Please hit that like and subscribe button if you're watching this video, and I'm out. Peace.